Yes, it looks like it.
Perfect. All right, I will share my screen again.
All right, the stage is yours.
Perfect. Welcome. Good afternoon to everyone who is watching this. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Marissa. I am one of the representatives at Rotterdam Business School. And today I'm here with Alice, one of our student ambassadors. And we have a very special guest today because Judita Lauwers is here. She is our senior lecturer. And in a few minutes, she will be taking the floor and she will give you a very nice impression of what you can expect if you come and study here at RBS. All right, but before we do that, I quickly wanted to give you a little bit more, let's say, background information on why we're doing this trial class. Because RBS is part of Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences. And in the Netherlands, there are actually two types of universities where you can choose from, especially with your Latvian high school diploma. There are universities of applied sciences and there are research universities. And both universities are really good. They're both accredited by the Dutch Accreditation Organization. The Dutch quality ranks in the top 2% of the world, so it's great quality. But the approach of both universities is very different. So if you are to study at the University of Applied Sciences, in general, the bachelor is 4 years, because in a third year, there is a mandatory internship. The reason for the internship is that as the University of Applied Sciences, we really prepare you for the workforce after graduation. So that means internship, exchange program, lots of group assignments, working with real companies. So lots of doing, it's very hands-on. If you were to study at a research university, the bachelor would be 3 years because usually there's no mandatory internship included. And it's really theoretical, really academic, more traditional. So that's really for students who like to delve deeper into the theory and who might see themselves as an academic later on. So that's the main difference between the two. They're both really good, but it's really up to you. And it's also really about finding the best fit. Some students are really into doing and they like the practical and profession-oriented approach. And other students are more into the individual way of learning and they like to delve deeper into the theory. So I just wanted to quickly show you this because it is important to know this before you make your decision. So RBS is part of Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences. It's one of the bigger universities in the country, but for the bachelors and the masters, we have two separate locations. So in that way, you don't feel like you're part of this massive university. We're located in Rotterdam, very special city because Rotterdam is Europe's largest port city. So we are literally surrounded by big multinationals, but also smaller companies and many startups because Rotterdam is a very entrepreneurial city. So also home to many startups. But it's also very international, very multicultural city. It's home to people from over 170 different nationalities. And that same international aspect is also something you will notice in the classroom because we have an international classroom with students from over 63 different countries. So it's very special and it really prepares you to function well in an international setting after graduation, whether that's here in the Netherlands or abroad. All of our staff are from the business field. Everyone speaks English. And maybe also good to mention is that especially after last year, we have a really good support system for students because we don't want anyone to feel alone or homesick. It's a very big step to move all the way to Rotterdam. So we want to make sure that we can support you the best way we can. So the way we do that is we work together with mentors, with buddies that you'll be assigned, with peer coaches, counselors, also with our student ambassadors like Alice and her team, also with RISA, the Student Association. So we really do our best to focus on student well-being. This is an overview of where everything is located. So for the master students, the university campus is located a little bit more towards the east. And for the bachelors, it's actually very close to the city center. Our student dormitories are right in the middle. And I do want to address the dormitories because as you might have heard, the housing situation in the Netherlands is quite difficult, especially since last year we did not only have first year students coming to Rotterdam, but also second and third year students returning to Rotterdam because they went home because of the pandemic. So that put extra stress on the housing situation. I don't expect that exact situation to be the same in September 22, but it's still going to be difficult. So make sure you register both for the dormitories and also start looking for alternative housing options, and absolutely not later than spring. We have a full-time housing officer. We have a good website with tips and tricks. What a lot of our students do is they put a message in a Facebook group saying that they're looking for an apartment, and then team up with other students to share an apartment. So that's also possible. Then we move on to international business because that's the topic, of course, for today. It's a 4-year bachelor program, although with your diploma, you also qualify for the 3-year fast track program. But in general, it's 4 years. The first year is the same for all students, just to get familiar with the 4 specializations that you can choose from after the first year. The second year, you're going to put into practice what you learned. And the third year is for the internship, and the fourth year is for the exchange program. Or you can also decide to stay here and do a minor, and also your graduation assignment, which will be written for a company. Besides the business subjects, we will also focus on your professional development, which is also something that Judita will tell you more about today. And there are also languages that you can choose from. As an international student, you will get Dutch in your program, although it's not really necessary for daily life because everyone speaks English. But definitely if you're planning on staying here after graduation, then it is highly recommended to know a little bit of Dutch. And besides Dutch, it is possible to choose other languages. There are European languages to choose from. So that would be German, French, Spanish. We also offer Asian languages like Japanese, Mandarin, Bahasa Indonesian, Korean, and Vietnamese. And then there's also Russian to choose from. So a lot of opportunities. And also during your internship and your exchange program, you can also go to those countries to work there and experience and practice the language. So that's quite special. And this is just a financial overview of what you can expect in terms of finances. In general, what you can expect is to spend around 800 to 1,000 euros per month on your groceries, on your rent, on going out. So in addition to the tuition fee, which is around 1,000 euros the first year and around 2,000 euros from the second year, it's around 800 to 1,000 euros that you will spend on daily expenses. Of course, it depends a little bit on your own spending behavior, but that's what you can expect. To help with those finances, a lot of our students have part-time jobs. As an EU citizen, there are no restrictions. However, we don't recommend students to get a part-time job right away in the first semester because everything is new. So give yourself some time to get used to that. But after that, if you've settled in nicely, then it's definitely an option to look for part-time jobs. It's the typical student jobs like working in a restaurant or in retail or in a cafe. But yeah, it says a lot about our city that it's so open to international students that even though you don't speak Dutch, you still have the opportunity to look for a part-time job. Besides studying and working, studying in Rotterdam is also about having a nice social life, doing sports, for example. We also work with student ambassadors who organize a lot throughout the year, and we're always here to help you out. And we also work with RISA, Rotterdam International Students Association. They organize a lot of events throughout the year, whether that's business events, parties, or networking events. Or they organize a workshop on how to get the most out of your LinkedIn, or they invite a super cool guest speaker to give a lecture. So super nice to become a member as well. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I just wanted to ask Alice to take 5 minutes to share your experience as an international student. I'm sure that's super valuable for everyone who is watching.
Yes, thank you. Welcome everyone who is watching. Welcome to the people who have joined today. My name is Alice, and I was born in the Netherlands, but I grew up in New Zealand. So I would say, coming into the school, I felt very welcomed as an international as well. There was two things that I really wanted in a university, and that was the practical side, that I had to be practical, because I learn best when I'm doing things and not just behind the computer and just researching. So I have to have projects and work with other people and able to really learn. And the other thing was that I really wanted to meet very international people from everywhere, from Australia, from other countries outside of Europe. I really wanted to expand my knowledge on cultures, and that is exactly what RBS has provided me here. I've met so many people from Asia and South America, which growing up in a Chinese household, it's still very similar but very different, because I grew up in the West as well. So that's very interesting to learn, subtle differences, major differences. And regarding the practical part, last year we got to do a project. So I'm in my third year now, and in the second year we got to do this massive project where we built our own company. And that really inspired me to want to continue with this. And I have not started on my own business yet, but it really makes me want to. And in that year, we really started with, the brainstorming, the whole process of building a company. So if you see yourself building your own company or wanting that experience, I really think that this is a great decision for you. And during that time, there was so many challenges, but it was just so rewarding at the end. We worked with everything from budgeting to registering our company as a real company in the Netherlands. And it was just a great success. We've imported these soap sheets from China, and we marketed everything, and it was just a great experience. And the thing I like about the new program here is that in the first year you get to decide also like which specialization do I want. That's one of the biggest things that I feel like RBS benefits the students. You have that year to decide, like, do I want to continue? Do I want which direction do I want to go to as well? And I think the location of RBS is amazing as well. Around the corner of our school, there's literally Deloitte, or 15 minutes away, there's Unilever, some really big, really massive companies, and what better place to do business than in the center of it all. So I think this is a great decision looking back at it, and I hope that you guys would make a great decision like this as well. But if you have any more questions, I want to leave our email behind, so you can just email us whenever you need to.
Yeah, and I think after Judita's class, we will have some time for Q&A. So if you have any specific questions, especially for Alice, since she is a current student, feel free to ask us. I did see that there are some new students that have joined. So I think that's super nice. And without further ado, Judita, let's move on to the main event of today.
Yes, thank you, Marissa. Thank you. So first of all, I would like to say welcome and good afternoon to everybody who is participating here. And it's really, really big pleasure seeing you in this webinar. So a little bit about myself. That would be the first, let's say, step that I would take with regard to the lecture. So my name is Judita Lauwers, and I'm a senior lecturer and coach at the International Business Program at Rotterdam University of Applied Science. I teach IC, which stands for Intercultural Competence, CD and L, which stands for Cultural Diversity and Leadership, Innovation and Creativity. I'm a supervisor of placement students, and I am a lecturer and jackal of all trades, as I say, because I've been working for this university for more than 12 and a half years, and I really enjoy working there and guiding, teaching, coaching students, as well as collaborating. With regard to that, what that means to be a student at RBS, first of all, I would like you to introduce a learner's journey. So a learner's journey, as you see, has 4 years. So first of all, we start with year 1, and in year 1 of our international business program, you start with exploration. So you start exploring all the fields and untested waters in order to understand whether this study is for you, whether you are ready for the challenges that are coming when being in an international environment. Then in furthermore, in year 1, you are also learning all the major principles when it comes to business subjects. You are learning how to work in teams. You are acknowledging the cultural differences that comes along with you when you join the international environment. And it becomes not only scary or demanding, but also extremely exciting, because getting to know other coaches is a big privilege that not everybody can have. And for you, in our program, this field is open to explore. When you gain all that knowledge, then you move into year 2 of our IB program, which is based on practice. So you are implementing all the knowledge, all the experience that you obtained in year 1 into practice in year 2. What that means, it means that you are going to work on multiple projects. You will be the ones who are creating websites, the ones who are embarking on business simulation games, and you will really have that taste of what it takes to become a new entrepreneur in this ever-changing, never-starting world. Collaboration is the key through all the years that are coming along. So in year 3, when you already experienced what it is to be a part of an international team, you are going to make a choice when it comes to your internship. And internship is all about experience. And students are really looking forward towards that. So half a year you are going to work for a real company. You are going to implement all the skills that you've already possessed into practice. And of course, there will be skills that will be extremely outstanding and standing out for one or another company supervisor. And you are going to develop those skills with the help of this company supervisor, as well as our program supervisor into a professional competence. And who knows, maybe that professional competence will also help you to determine which particular business skills you are going to develop further and establish your own business. So when it comes to that, it's not only an internship experience, it's also minor. So half a year you are going to do your internship. When you are back, you are going to enroll for a minor. And we have really good programs when it comes to that. The one that stands out is the digital marketing that all students are really, really keen about. So, but there are other that are related to the human resource, to the ways companies operate, the ways they organize their business, as well as building up the corporate culture within. So after that experience, you are already fully prepared for the final one. You will become that one, a new startup, a new entrepreneur, a new business woman or man. And with regard to that, you still have to enroll and decide which company you are going to pursue your internship in. And internship is all about thesis. It's all about your final work that leads to a diploma. And when you graduate, you feel a totally new human, the human who is ready to explore the world. And with regard to that, we are moving more in depth certain elements with regard to our program. So here you see an umbrella. And in my viewpoint, umbrella is everything that makes a person, a student, successful when it comes to business. So what does it stand for? It stands for 3 abbreviations that encompass the rest of the program. So in order to become fully functional in internal environment when it comes to business, as well as external environment, as well as to fully understand what the business is all about, we need collaboration. And it's not only collaborating between the students, but it's also collaborating with all the people that are working for RBS. So, and in order to become that one, we have to learn certain skills. And skills are learned through 3 major subjects: PPD, IC, and IBC. You see that the head of the umbrella is colored not really fully. And that was my intention. The intention or the reasoning behind that is that nobody is perfect. When we enter an international environment, we come with our own package. We come with our own experience, with our own background, be it cultural, be it educational, and we tend to see everything around us and perceive everything around us from our own experience. But it's not the case when it is international. So we come with so many fears and we think, oh, nothing is perfect. Oh, I might fail here, but we want you to encourage not to worry, because all these 3 subjects are going to prepare you for the journey furthermore. So, and when it comes to that, I would like to move on to the first subject, which is referred as personal and professional development. So the personal and professional development is a journey. It is a process. First of all, it is a process with regard to yourself, to fully understand who you are and what is your goal. But how can we know what's our goal if there are so many external factors bumping upon us, and it's quite difficult to make a decision in general? So with regard to that, we have coaches, we have trained teachers who are personal and professional development coaches and who are going to guide you through that process. So the aim of this class is to enable you to achieve more fundamental and long-lasting awareness of yourselves in your environment, to ensure your smooth transition from a familiar environment to the one that is different, more diverse, and sometimes more demanding. Because it is so difficult to understand what is required from us and what do we have to do, the way we have to plan when we come from a totally different educational background. Then of course we are also shy to ask for help. We are shy to admit that we make mistakes and we think that it might be the end of our study or the end of the world in general. But when you have a personal and professional development coach next to you, next to your side, then it becomes much easier. They will always be there for you. They will help you. They will be there for you when you will face uncertainties, when you will face culture shocks. And then you will see the process itself will no longer look that difficult as it seemed in the first place. So you will be guided through and taught to self-reflect on your planning, learning, and collaboration when being in the process of self-discovery in personal and professional development. So that means that you will really start planning. You will start prioritizing. You will have that much freedom, but also that much responsibility in general. So you will be guided through when it comes to structured planning as a future business person. We believe that in order to be successful in study and business, self-efficacy is essential. PPD enables you to gain that self-awareness as a learner in higher education and at upcoming professionals in the international business environment, in order to become successful in various and ever-changing environments. So it's not only professional, it's also personal, because that's where we begin. We begin with self-discovery, and then later on, we dive into professional discovery. With regard to that, we'll move on to a second very important subject, which is international competence. International competence comes along with personal and professional development. These are like two sisters. They never go apart. So what that means that, again, we are talking about our own culture as well as cultures that we meet within RBS premises. Rotterdam is extremely multicultural, and it's a real privilege to be there. So international competence is a subject that really helps you to understand what you have in common as well as what you have as a difference between your culture and the culture that you meet. So international competence is a critical factor in international business success. However, it does not automatically develop by the sheer exposure to people or from other cultures or studying and interning abroad. That is why IB program in Rotterdam Business School of Applied Science offers comprehensive, longitudinal, reflective approach in addition to cultural theory. What does that mean? That means that through all the years, year 1, year 2, and year 3, you're going to develop that international competence. It is very essential, especially when you come to the point when you have to make a choice for your internship. Maybe you will make a choice to have your internship in Malaysia or in New Zealand, like Ali just mentioned, or in America, or in Canada, you name it. And in order to be there, in order to be a successful intern, you have to understand the culture behind. And culture is made of multiple facets. When we are young, we only know one culture and one facet. But when we start evolving as business people, we have to know all these facets that enable us to achieve everything in life, what we desire. We will become able to critically reflect, making use of cultural theories on how your own personal intercultural communication style and preferences affect your behavior towards thinking on and communication with people from other cultures. Sometimes we have an assumption that people understand us the way we communicate, but it might come across in various approaches. Some people might perceive us as being rude. Some people might perceive us as being shy or being non-talkative or being too much talkative. So in order to understand where is the borderline, we have to study those cultures and become extremely comfortable when it comes to them. So you will be able to argue using Hofstede's dimensions of power distance and masculinity, which organizational culture is most fitting for you at any moment in your learner's journey. What that means that we all come from different environments. In some cultures, power distance is still very present. Masculinity is still very present. But if we meet, let's say, people who are coming from the opposite, who are coming from the low power distance, as well as collectivism culture, as well as feminine culture. And that might be a challenge when it comes to communication. So in order to mitigate this case, in order to feel comfortable, you have to learn the differences. So with regard to that, we are going to move on the communication part. And as you already know, in our university, as well as in places abroad, English is the master key when it comes to communication. So you're going to learn business English and communication. Sometimes when it comes to English language, we all assume that our language is perfect, that we already know how to communicate. But when it comes to business environment, might not be the case all the time. So when it comes meeting people in different fields of expertise, when it comes to you presenting yourself, when it comes to persuading those people, when it comes to negotiations and correspondence or just making a small talk, we have to understand that spoken English, like usual English, differs from business English. So, and we provide specific courses that are tailored with regard to the latter. So you will be taught how to correspond properly, how to write reports, how to make presentations, how to engage into dialogues, debates, or discussions in a proper manner. So Business English emphasizes effective communication among international students and teachers, as well as business representatives from external environment. Business English is not about being perfect, because nothing is perfect, but it does require a relatively high level of proficiency. That means when it comes to business environment, we have to know specific language, and it's like coding. When the coding is proper, then you crack the enigma. So it is all about you being able to write an essay, report, analyze, present, and negotiate or debate in business English. So that was a short overview of the major subject that make you fully equipped when it comes to internal and external and business compass in the business field. So here I have a beautiful globe, and that globe represents something. In the previous webinars, I've been asking students, so when you look at that globe, what does that mean to you? What you associate with what type of topic when you look at that globe? And some students had difficulty. They were thinking and trying to guess, but one of the students gave a really insightful answer. He said, so when I look at this globe, it represents me a huge network worldwide. And it's true, because we are networking not only online, but we are networking also when being in different places, when choosing a place for our study in a different country, when choosing a place for our internship or thesis assignment in a totally different country. So we are networking. And one thing what enables us to do that is globalization. So the borders became more flexible or open, and we can travel much easier than previously. So we can choose to study in any corner of this world. And it has become inevitable. Because when we think about future, we only think in a global way, in a global manner, because we cannot go back. It is simply not possible. The only way to succeed in the future is to work together. So if you, for example, will start your business in Latvia, but you need specific labor force or specific professionals with regard to one or another field of expertise that your country cannot provide with, then of course you are going to outsource. And the best way to outsource is look for those professionals in other countries. But before you get them, you have to know how to approach them. And that's what we teach. So when it comes to that, this networking, it's all about me, who I am, we should ask, what I can contribute, and then others, what I can exchange and what I can get in return when it comes to business success in the future. And that's where we all are. So when it comes to major 3 questions that we consider when working in an international environment, and specifically in the first year, these are the questions that are around 3 major topics. So stereotyping. Stereotyping is an extremely essential topic to be learned and discussed, because when we come from a different country, we have a specific stereotype with regard to that country. For example, before you got to know the Netherlands, first thing what you read probably in forums or in, heard from your acquaintances was that Dutch people love cheese and everybody smokes weed, which might not be the case at all. Not all Dutch people eat cheese, not all Dutch people smoke weed, but the stereotype is here. But why it is here? Simply because it comes from an individual life experience. Some people experience that, and then they spread that stereotype all over the places. So, and then people took it for real, took it for granted. So, and the stereotype has been born.
Yeah,
so if you...
Yeah, Judith, I was just wondering, because we have some students here. So
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe there is actually someone who can give an example.
Yeah, we have 2 students actually, Anastasia and Oscars.
Yeah, and I see Katrina's also here, Amanda's here. So maybe one of those students.
Yeah, it would be nice to hear. What do you think? What Latvian stereotype you are familiar with? Any ideas?
Maybe that Latvia is not actually a country and it's part of Lithuania, something like that.
Latvia is not a country, it's a part of Lithuania. That's really interesting. Well, I will tell you one thing. Originally, I come from Lithuania. I'm Lithuanian, but I've never heard this. It's really interesting. Now you see, you gave me a totally new input with regard to a stereotype. So that's really interesting. And then when it comes, for example, to that part, let's say if someone would approach you and say, Oscars, Latvia is part of Lithuania, you would feel a little bit uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what happens with people when they meet multiple cultures. If we don't know about that culture, and if we have no knowledge in our disposition, then sometimes we can, become quite rude when using stereotypes. Like, for example, Ali, if I would ask Ali, are you, for example, from North Korea? And or South Korea? Ali would say, no. I said, but you look like one. So I would be already stereotyping. So in order to avoid this, we should include open questions like, where are you from? Or what's your culture look like? What do I have to know about your culture? And that's how we, let's say, discredit all stereotyping. So it is really essential to understand that, because very often, in order to show that we possess one or another knowledge about one or another culture, we use stereotyping, which might come across as being not that polite and not that funny.
Yeah, I also actually had that experience, because I am from Rotterdam, actually, but my parents are from Suriname, which is in South America, next to Brazil. But when I'm abroad, sometimes they think, where are you from? Because I'm of color. And then when I say, well, I'm actually from the Netherlands, sometimes they're really like, oh, really? I didn't expect that, because I don't apparently match the person they have in mind when thinking of the Netherlands.
Yeah, exactly. Like me being Lithuanian, I sometimes, when I'm asked where I'm from, I say I'm from Lithuania, and people immediately jump into conclusion. Oh, you are from Lithuania, you are from Russia, right? Do you have internet? Do you have roads? And then it's becoming so confusing that I don't even know where to begin with in order to clarify that stereotype. And it's really important to understand that sometimes stereotypes are not the valid, let's say, tool for starting a conversation between people who are from different cultures. So the same goes for ethnocentricity. So anybody of you heard about ethnocentricity? What does that mean to you? What do you think? Have you ever heard that word before?
Maybe that we assume that all Asian countries have the same culture or something like that.
Yes, like let's say all Asian countries are representing one country, Asia, which might not be the truth, yeah? And it's also very much connected to stereotype. So thank you, Oscars. And anybody else? Anastasia, maybe I'm mispronouncing your name. Ali, maybe you could help us? Ali?
Yeah, sorry. My mic was muted. So what is ethnocentricity?
Yeah. What would be in your case? How would you define that? Have you ever experienced ethnocentric behavior?
For example, because of my specific ethnicity, that they act that way towards me?
Yes.
I would say yes, especially when I was in China. I think as someone who does look Chinese but grew up in the West, they act differently to you. They don't act like their peers as Chinese people who they act more distant because they know that they are different. They are different from us. So we have to act a bit more, I would say more posh even.
Yeah, very well defined. Indeed, let's say ethnocentricity is when one culture is more superior and dominant than others. So, for example, if there are people who are from one culture and they are the majority, that means this culture would be dominant one. So in order to understand that, we make people aware that in our environment, in our school, in our program, we do not have that. In the beginning of year one, we clearly define stereotyping and ethnocentricity, especially putting the emphasis on multicultural environment, because we want to acknowledge every single culture and every culture's differences in order to give to that culture a specific place, because we can only assume what other people are thinking. We cannot impose our own culture upon other people because they have a totally different experience. They have a totally different background. So our task as PPD coaches, as IC mentors, we really focus on acknowledging all cultures that we meet within our environment and giving a place for every single culture. And that's what we teach students. Because when they are together in the first year, in the beginning, when they start working in teams, it's very difficult for them. And most of them say, yeah, I don't know whether I can work with that person because he or she does not really comply with my rules. So, but then we have to ask why your rules are better than mine. So in order to avoid that conflict, we define stereotyping, ethnocentricity, as well as really make use of cultural differences. Because Netherlands, if you look at the Netherlands, even though it's very multicultural, but the majority of people speak Dutch. So when we have Dutch students, they tend to cluster into their own teams. And the teams become homogeneous. That means one of a kind. But when we have more international students coming, that's where those teams become different. So let's say we mix them with international students, and that's where the fun part comes in. And after 1 year of experience, that students always choose to be with internationals because they say, we've learned so much from other cultures. We've learned so many ways of dealing with obstacles, challenges, priorities, and etc. So when you are in a diverse environment with a diverse team, you learn faster, you learn more efficiently, and you really become a world citizen. Then it's so easy to really go from one country to another because you already know the core knowledge and you possess the core competence. So, and with regard to the third question, maybe Oscars, you are the one who is engaging with us. Maybe you are able to answer that question. So why is it important to become culturally aware in business environment and life in general? Why it is important?
Maybe not to offend someone before you even start making business with them.
Yeah, and let's say as look at yourself now as a future businessman. So why it is very important to you when it comes to your own business and your own life?
Sorry, what something with my sound? Can you please?
Like why it would be important to you, let's say, to be culturally aware when it comes to you being a future businessman?
Because I want to work with as many people as there is, not like with some that
Exactly.
I only know.
Yeah, and for example, when you have let's say business degree or you know a degree in business science, so you would not only go back to your own country and stay there. You would be curious. You would like to know the the current trends when it comes to business, and of course you want to travel. You want to travel, to one or another country to gain more knowledge, bring that into your country and, make a prosperous business for yourself. So, and who knows, maybe, along the way, this journey, you will meet your love life and then you will have a family. And maybe that chosen one would be from a different culture. So you will become a much multicultural, let's say, family altogether. And that's what we also have in the Netherlands. Let's say, if you will make a choice to come and study, you will see that our students are coming from families where not only 1 or 2 cultures coexist, but 3 and 4. So, and they are so happy. They say we have that heritage and we learn bits and pieces from the cultures that are within our family. And that's what makes them happy, because they don't feel that they only know one, but they know multiple. So, and that is real prerequisite of the international studies. So, and with regard to that, I would like to finish my presentation, and I'm very happy having you here. And thanks to Marissa and to Ali and to Kalva.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Judita, for giving us a very nice impression of what students can expect from us at RBS when it comes to studying international business. So thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy. It's the end of the year, so you're probably have a lot of things to do, but thank you so much for today.
Thank you. And I wish you all a merry coming Christmas and New Year. And I hope to see you next year.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this webinar. We do have a few minutes left, so maybe if you guys have any questions, whether that's related to the studies or student life for Alice, or can be anything, feel free to unmute yourself and ask us. I see Amanda and Oscars are still here. So guys, if you have any questions for us, please let us know. Let me just quickly check the chat as well.
Well, I have one question. Sorry for my English. My English not too good, but I will try. I have one question. Does university offer summer courses for students? For example, if I want to study in university, for example, next year, if I in this summer have summer courses where I can prepare.
So that's a good question, Amanda, and absolutely no need to apologize for English or anything, because I'm also not a native speaker. But there is no summer course in the sense that, you know, you can sort of join a program and participate. But in order to prepare, we do have a lot of webinars on YouTube. So, and those are very valuable because there are webinars also about the program and what you can expect from the program in year 1, in year 2, in year 3, and year 4. So in that way, you can get a really good impression of, okay, what are some of the skills that I need if I want to start with international business at RBS? When it comes to what is really needed is an open mind, clearly, because you're going to be in a classroom with students from all over the world. So it's important that you're open to that. When it comes to English, don't worry, because once you are here at RBS, you are forced to speak English the entire time, and you will notice how quickly you will improve because you have to. And also it's a very, you know, practical and profession-oriented program. So group projects, business cases, going on internship are all things that you need to be ready for. I don't know, Alice, do you have anything to add? You're still on mute.
Yes. I know that you really don't need to have much preparation before this. I did, you know, in high school, not the doctor, but I would say like the biology and science package that we have in the Netherlands. And so I did not have any background in economy at all. And I did not really prepare. And if you are worried about your English, I think that that shouldn't be a worry at all, because, you know, during the year you will start to speak English more, and you will also be talking to native speakers. So you definitely learn from them as well, and you'll realize in about 2-3 months that it shouldn't be a problem at all speaking English. You just really adapt to it really fast.
Thank you for your answer.
No problem. Do you guys have any more?
Do you have any more questions, Amanda? If you feel more comfortable, you can also just ask your question in Latvian, because Marx is here to help translate.
Yes.
I have a second question. What skills should I acquire on my own before entering Rotterdam Business School? Like not English, like maybe other skills.
Yeah, Well, of course, you know, interacting with people from different backgrounds is going to be something that is important and that you're going to develop. So it's not necessarily that you have to be a pro at that already, because it is something that you will learn. The first year is very introductory, because you will get an introduction into the 4 specializations that you can choose from after the first year. So during the first year, you can expect subjects like finance and accounting. There is marketing, logistics, business communication, a little bit of law. So very, very basic, because our students come from all over the world. They all have a high school diploma, but the content of the diploma can be a little bit different. As Alice mentioned, she followed a sort of more science-related subjects, and other students have more of a maybe economic background or maybe more mathematics background. So just to make sure that everyone starts at the same level, the first year is very basic. So I wouldn't worry too much about, you know, the specific skills that you need. The only main thing is that this program is a good fit for you. That's really something to think about. I don't know if that was helpful, Amanda.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Is there anything else that you would like to ask us?
And my last question will be about exams, because now I'm in 11th class, and in this year I have new study program in school, and this year I have my English exam, math exam, and Latvian language exam, and in the next year I have exams in higher level. And what exams I have to pass for university? Or it's like only like IELTS?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the nice thing about studying in the Netherlands is that in the Netherlands, we believe that higher education should be accessible to everyone with a high school diploma, whether that diploma was obtained in the Netherlands, in Europe, or outside of Europe. For most of the European high school diplomas, so that also includes your Latvian high school diploma, there is no additional subject requirements or any grade requirements, because we're not allowed to look at that. The European countries have determined that almost all high school diplomas obtained in Europe are of an equal level. So that means that to get into university, you only need your Latvian high school diploma, and there are no additional requirements, because the English exam that you will do is already sufficient also to start with the international business program directly. So, and of course, beside your high school diploma, after you've registered in StudyLink, which is something that Callback can help you with, there will also be a study program check involved. And the study program check is a really nice decision-making tool to make sure that this program and that our type of education is really a good fit for you. So what that means is that the study program check consists of 2 parts. The first part is an online CV. So it's a link that we will send to you, and it will ask you, why do you want to study this program? Where do you see yourself later on? What do you expect from the program? And then the second part is an interview with me or one of my colleagues to go over your motivation. And it's also a very nice opportunity to ask us any questions that you may have at that time. Yeah, so I hope I explained it a little bit.
Yes, thank you.
All right, is there anything else, Amanda, that you would like to ask?
I don't think so, because I understand and I'm really interested. I have half a year to think about my studies, and yes, I'm really interested. Thank you, really.
Super. Well, thank you so much for joining today. If you have any more questions, I saw that Alice put the student ambassador email in the chat. You can also very easily reach us by Facebook or Instagram. And I'm also sharing the YouTube slide here because all of our webinars are there as well. And the first week of February, we have our next open week. So that's also super nice to join. So I think we're gonna wrap up. So thank you everyone who has been watching this webinar or has attended the webinar. If you have any more questions, you can also very easily reach out to us or to Kalba and Mark's and his team. So thank you so much. And thank you, Alice, of course, for joining and sharing your experience.
No problem. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marisa and Ali. It was a really good introduction to Rotterdam Business School. And as Marisa rightly said, if anyone wants to apply for Rotterdam Business School, we can make it happen at Kalba. So we have free consultations. And yeah, just give us a shout and we will help you. So yeah, that wraps up this webinar, and thanks everyone for joining, for watching, and see you next time.
Yes, and hope to see you soon in Rotterdam, of course.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.